All right, we're back. Just gonna go over. This is our second part, I guess. It's been a few years since I did the first part of talking about magnets. I was asked recently by a guy in a Space Wolf group about how I magnetized the Space Wolf Dreadnoughts, the Venerable Dreads specifically. Everyone's gonna have their own way of magnetizing. You're gonna find out your own style, method, the magnet sizes you prefer, the positions you prefer. But this is just how I did it. So the person in question sent me a couple videos of other people going through their methodology for how they magnetized. These are my 6 dreads. So I misquoted on my first attempt at this video. I have 6 and I've done 2 for a friend, so I've done 8 of these magnetized fully. A couple of these ones in front of you here actually aren't even Space Wolf Dreadnoughts. They were other kinds of Dreadnought. This one here, you can kind of recognize the missiles on top was an ironclad, but I've refaced them and I've magnetized them all universally. And I duplicated and or did all Space Wolf claw feet because I like those. Anyway, continuing on. So, I did like, there was another guy here on YouTube, I sent the clip, how he did the workaround for the wrist joint here. The kit is pretty crafty. They only give you one pair of this wrist for the shield and axe combo, or for this style of claw specifically, like the Murder Fang claw. They only give you one of this, camera's not focusing, this wrist part here. So what I did is I either tore ones out of other like generic Space Marine, the standard Melta combat weapon, which a couple of these actually are, old box knot dreads. This is one of them, I believe, right here, actually. Kind of see where I filled it in with some green stuff, if my camera will focus. You can see where I filled it in with some green stuff here, because it was actually supposed to be 4 fingers all the way around, but then this one only needs the 2 slots. So I just backfilled that in. Focus, camera, focus. All right. Anyway. So yeah, this was my Murder Fang. He was actually just a regular Space Marine Dread, just with a Melta and a claw. None of the Space Wolf heraldry on him. That was all extra bits from the Vendread kits, and I used that to reface old dreads and just bring them up and make them look more wolfy. But talking about magnets, so with Bjorn specifically here, the way I did it in mine, the first couple, was I put a single magnet, I think it's a 2x6, inside this part of the weapon. Okay, so this is the Hellfrost cannon, you have the Melta, and you have the assault cannon. What I ended up doing better as I improve every time I do it, for my buddies too, I did his Bjorn and his Murder Fang, was I just put one magnet right here, and then instead I cut away half of this block. So this block here, the whole thing, no matter how bad you cut this away, no matter how rough it looks, it really doesn't matter. As long as you don't damage anything in front of this section that goes in, the whole section that goes in is hidden. So you can cut this away, carve this away. I followed sort of the halfway line across here, cut this down this way, and then I left the bottom and the front sides whole, but I just cut this part up away, right? This part where the magnet's kind of sitting. It's where the peg is supposed to go in from the dread's body, and the peg goes through this hole and then through the corresponding like spot here. So I cut all this away so I could put a single magnet in here. I think I put again like a 2x6 or a 2x8 in here in my buddy's dreads, and it was just a much snappier connection. When 2 magnets can physically touch, it's going to be a much stronger, snappier, like on this side, a much stronger, snappier connection. You can like hold the whole model by that arm. But to do it on the other side, because there's just a millimeter space, it's just way less strength. So the more you can get the magnets to actually just fully touch, the way stronger it's going to be. You don't have to magnetize this left side. You could just permanently glue it. It's always a melee arm, so it really doesn't matter. The next part you would magnetize would be the wrist. But just finishing up with this, like I said, rather than putting 3 magnets in the 3 different guns and hollowing the inside of this a little wider to accommodate it sliding in and out, I ended up later just putting 1 magnet here and then taking half of this block away, just shaving it out, basically right down to where you see it's recessed inside. Basically right down where it's recessed, right back to there, you know, just following that recess spot and down this way, and then you can leave the bottom hole and you can leave this front hole, and as long as you don't damage anything past that, all the rest is hidden, doesn't matter. So it's just more economic, less magnets, and then it's a more direct magnet to magnet connection on this connection this side, right? So yeah, the next bit would be the wrists. Again, just like a 2x6 works fine. Put it in the wrists. I did keep the polarities identical. I switch polarities left and right usually, so you can't accidentally put a right arm on the left side. I don't know why you would, but I just do it because. But the wrists I left all universal polarity because they have no distinguishable like left and right hand. They're both just this four-fingered claw, and there's no like left or right, so it doesn't matter. So I just left that the same polarity. Always want to have a Sharpie and like be marking your polarities. Nothing's worse than installing the magnet and having it the wrong polarity. So just use a Sharpie to like put a stripe on one side and just always kind of make note of which side has the Sharpie mark on it, so you always know which your polarities are. But yeah, I just put one in there, one in that side, easy, boom, nice and snappy. It's a nice chunky magnet. You probably go smaller for such a small piece, but I just like it. Again, you can like hold the whole model by this claw. I'm holding the whole model, and that's 2 magnets that are in that arm and claw. But I can't do it on this side unless it's the newer ones that I did for my buddy. It's a direct connection. It's way stronger. It's just a better as I did it. Those were all done with piloting a hole, Dremel it a wider, you know, to install my magnet, stuff like that. Top here I did with a hand vise, so it's a smaller magnet, so I did have to switch to the hand tool, the hand drill. I think this is like a 1.5 by 2 mil, something like that. Good ones for like the smoke grenade launcher here, and again I kept the university or polarities universal, so I can take like my murder fang backpack totem here, same polarities in the magnet. I can throw that on if I want. I can throw the smokes on any dread. And then yeah, extras you could do, again, like your left shoulder you don't have to necessarily do. I did Bjorn here at the ankles because he has the wolf pelt here. I pinned this in to make sure it's good and strong, but then he can flat pack, he can lay down, he can go in a box, and I'm not too worried. If he is standing up in a case or something goes to squish him, he just falls over. It's one of the benefits of doing magnetizing. You'll have like breakaway points. Rather than having something break, it'll just kind of fall apart where the magnets connect. Yeah, for my workaround for the wrists that they only give you 1 pair of, they kind of do the same thing with Bjorn's claw, like Bjorn's actual like rune claw versus this one is the Great Wolf claw. They only give you 1 of this wrist, which has the slightly different setup for the 4 slots. Like you have your 4 slots where your fingers go in, and these 2 on the side are a little higher. They're not really like the 4 points of the compass like the other ones are. They only give you 1 of this wrist, so it's a similar problem. You either have to build 1 Great Wolf Claw or you build Bjorn's Claw. That's it. You don't have options. If if you've already built or something at a certain point and like you're stuck there, like that's fine. Just remember, like, don't be too afraid to cut into a model. You know, like you could take a hobby knife and like slice at this joint and just slice through. I actually use a big chunky Olfa as well as my hobby knife, depending on the job. Sometimes if it's a big hunk of plastic I gotta cut through, I use this big drywalling blade. But yeah, my workaround for that was I duplicated. So this is green stuff. There's this other stuff you can get called blue stuff, which is thermoplastic. Works just like a mouth guard. You throw it in boiling water for a few seconds. It softens. You press your piece into it. And then I usually like to throw it like in the freezer just to make sure it goes back to hard pretty good. And then I pull it apart. And this is actually the mold. This is the mold for this exact wrist piece. So you can see like the two notches on either side, notch, and the center peg hole, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, this is literally the part. So I stuffed that full of green stuff, let it sit overnight, duplicated wrists. I wouldn't duplicate anything that's too detailed. I have tried like doing more detailed stuff like the wolfen claw, like this style of claw I attempted one time. I attempted some shields. It doesn't do good. When it's detailed, it doesn't look good. But for something, a really simple part like the wrist, perfect application. So I just literally just duplicated more of these wrists. The other way I did it was taking the old square fingered box knot hand and just ripping the 4 fingers off and then using the wrist joint. So that's what this one is. It's the wrist joint from, I wish it would focus. Yeah, it's the wrist joint from like a square fingered, just a standard Space Marine Dread, and you can see where I filled it in with green stuff. I didn't do a very good job. But yeah, I filled it in with green stuff in these 2 sides that were exposed, and there's where the fingers were supposed to be. It's a little thin, but it worked. You know, it worked fine, and it's like, you know, the PVC plastic and technically GW plastic, so totally kosher. This, however, is duping, and if anyone, like, you know, you're playing major table, whatever, I guess they could call you out on it. The likelihood of that when it's all painted up and on the model, super slim. I really doubt anyone would ever say anything. I did have in my bits bin a whole right arm. These right arms are really hard to get in the melee, but I had to dupe the bottom half, as you can see there. It's all green stuff duplicated. It's just because it came in a bit slot and it wasn't there, the lower forearm. But yeah, it's pretty much it. Oh yeah, I put in extra magnets too. Let's see if I can find one. I don't think the piece is on, but I do have magnets underneath. Again, just that 1.5 by 2 done with the hand vise. There's a magnet right there, and that is for the storm bolter or the flamer. You can put a storm bolter or a flamer there. I have those. They're just in the bits, the magnetized bits that are all in my army case. But yeah, there's a good idea. I did waste on some. My Redemptors are really articulated. Like, they completely spin at the waist. Like, the hands move. I do like doing the waist just because it's like a posability thing. Another side effect of magnetizing is you can kind of move them around and pose them and turn them and get them like looking in a certain direction like they're, you know, fighting somebody. So that's a cool side effect. You get the posability as well. But yeah, I usually just go in with a Dremel. Bigger magnets are better, in my opinion. Like, I like being able to pick my whole model up by like one arm. That wasn't a good showing. Pick my whole model up by one arm and like basically not have it fall. It happens when your opponent is like going to move your model and doesn't realize that it's magnetized and it falls apart in his hands, and then he's like looking at you in guilt and like fear. Oh no, I'm so sorry I broke your model. And you're like, no man, it's fine. And you just click it back together with the magnets. But it's usually a little startle for them. But yeah, if you make them really solid connection, like his waist connection, this guy, like he's not coming apart, you know? And that's 10 by 2, I think, in the waist here. Oh, and I did his ankles as well. A little 6 by 2s or something in the ankles. yeah, that's basically it. I'm glad this video I was able to record the whole thing. Any other questions, just, ask me. If you know me personally, you can PM me, or you can ask in the comments, whatever. I can always, make another video, have another chat. No big deal. Appreciate you guys, and enjoy.